Hello guys, welcome back in Goku Manhwa channel. Let's continue. Kyan Niji paused, his voice ebbing away into silence. Then his focus hardened as he questioned. And you were asking about the lost seals of the 5 realms, weren't you? Yo Wu's expression grew tense. I wanted to know why you warned that the seals must not fall into their grasp. Kyan Niji slowly tilted his head, his tone low. It sounds impossible, but if their claim is right, godhood itself awaits. He let the words hang heavily before continuing with a dark gaze. Godhood, divine existence. They insisted the seals would grant dominion over life. The Grand Guardian beside them scowled and asked, Godhood and divine existence? My lord, can such a thing be real? Kyan Niji responded without a tremor. If their claim holds true, then once they recover all the seals of the 5 realms, it can be done. Yo's eyes thinned as thought surged. That would mean power beyond death itself. If it's true, their endless hunt makes sense. Then his face stiffened as an image surfaced sharply. The moment I glimpsed during the Relic's awakening sequence. Back then, wasn't it said that the figure known as the Silent Monarch had ruled for a millennium? If the clan head is truly that monarch, then he achieved divine power. In the original flow, he must have seized the seals of the 5 realms. But in this path, I secured them first. His fist tightened faintly. But none of this was planned. It began with the spirit of the Mist Wolf, then the Ember Scale beneath the Imperial Vault, and at last the Sea Serpent deep in the Northern Trench. The Ice Phoenix's essence within the Frozen Citadel. Each obtained through mere chance. Yo Wu stared at his palm, his eyes shadowed, as though fate itself had written it. He thought inwardly, if I take the core of the White Tiger next, as grandfather warned, would I ascend beyond death itself? I've never even wished for that. It's insane. Chan Niji finally spoke, breaking the tense silence. Perhaps fate has turned in our favor. The room remained heavy, the weight of his words thick. He continued slowly. If the warlord of the Shadow Blade Dominion had gained divine authority, the entire martial world would already kneel before him. He exhaled deeply. But the fact that you've already secured 3 of the seals, that's truly a blessing. Yo smirked faintly to himself. For the truth, but better to keep it quiet for now. Chija's features tightened. But the warlord must have also taken the Phoenix Seal at the sunken citadel. Yo Wu's eyes widened slightly. So the Phoenix Seal. Then the realization hit him. Another Phoenix relic must exist elsewhere. Since the Glacier relic beneath the North Sea Fortress is ancient, that makes sense. Chan Niji lowered his eyelids, concern in his voice. If he truly possesses the Phoenix Seal, his next target will undoubtedly be the last, the White Tiger. Even though you hold 3, you cannot lower your guard. Chan Niji's gaze drifted far away as the past returned to him. The first time I faced him within the inner sanctum of the Blade God's 6-fold domain, he said slowly, was under the guise of the Iron Trial. That man alone faced 20 martial elites entranced by blood hypnosis. He continued quietly. I broke free first by reversing the meridian flow with tendon arts. I thought it the perfect chance and launched my strike. His voice grew heavier. But the outcome was devastating. 2 Supreme Elders and 18 Elite Masters struck at once. Yet not one survived his counter. Chan Niji looked down, his tone grave. Yo Wu, that man is no human, he's a calamity. He pressed his palms together. If he gains 2 more seals, even with 3, your battle will be merciless. He raised his head sharply. You must claim the White Tiger Seal before he does. Only then can his power be checked. His eyes narrowed as the memory sharpened. I saw the technique he unleashed with my own eyes. It was a blade art surpassing human limits. You've studied the engravings of the Heavenly Demon Sword at the Inner Hall, haven't you? The only force that can counter the Blade God's art is that legacy of our founder. Chan Niji smiled faintly, lifting his chin. Fortunately, before infiltrating the Shadow Blade Dominion, I mastered the circulation formula of that art. It allows one to draw out at least 70% of its strength. His tone hardened. We can't wait any longer. From today on, I'll personally pass it to you. Yo Wu's face paled, sweat trailing down his temples. Chija then continued, with your gift, you'll restore the lost Heavenly Demon Sword completely. Yo raised a hand slowly, eyes closing. Grandfather, forgive me, but I've already deciphered the Founder's script from the Azure Obsidian Pillar and completed the Heavenly Demon Sword. Chan Niji froze, disbelief flooding his eyes. What? He blinked rapidly, then laughed in stunned joy. Remarkable, even for my own blood. Yo Wu said nothing, only thinking inwardly. If I told him I fused it with the Blade God's extreme art, he'd collapse. 5 days later, Dan Bason's voice rang out. Master, can't you stay a bit longer before you go? Yo turned, facing his disciples, and replied calmly, Don't speak words you don't mean. Dan Bason scowled faintly. How could you say that? There's still so much left for me to learn. Yo crossed his arms. I've already passed down everything I can. You've inherited every sequence of the Frost Vein scripture. I'll check later whether you've truly mastered it. Dan Bason's eyes widened. You'll check? Yo's gaze burned crimson as he growled. You're my first disciple. Did you really think I'd just let carelessness pass? I'll station 2 Iron Fang operatives here to make sure your training never slacks. Dan Bason lowered his head quickly. I won't fail you. The elder with the narrow glasses studied him quietly, thinking to himself, this boy lacks both talent and discipline, and despite his noble martial blood, his heart isn't in it. The elder turned slightly toward Yo Wu and said, If we speak of the Northern Glacier Hall's future, the rightful heir should be Dan Jushin. Frankly, Dan Bason's only had fortune on his side. Yo Wu stepped onto the ship, pausing to glance back with a faint smile. We are leaving now. Train without neglect. Dan Bason sighed and managed a bitter grin. Yes, master. Hai Bong strolled toward Yo Wu with a playful grin. My lord, since they are under your banner now, why not rename the Northern Glacier Hall? Something like Heavenly Demon Cult, Frost Branch. Sounds fierce, right? Before he could finish, a hard hand struck the back of his head. Hai Bong yelped, clutching it. My skull isn't a drum for you to hit. Hosen W.A. planted her hands on her waist, glaring sharply. Everything else is tolerable, but your mouth needs discipline. Hu Bong groaned, rubbing his head. Fine, fine. He glanced toward Dan Jushin's side. Dan Jushin returned the glance briefly before looking away without a word. At the edge of the deck, Murong Gong and strategist Zhao stood silently, watching. Murong sent a quiet transmission. Strategist, what happens to us now? Zhao answered evenly. Don't panic, young master. Her gaze shifted to Yo Wu conversing with Baek Ji. As hostages, they won't harm us recklessly. Murong followed her eyes, frowning. That cold-hearted man. Strategist Zhao clenched her fist, her eyes like steel. They're holding us as leverage to make the Alliance send troops, avoiding a direct clash for now. Removing the Blade God's sixfold clan benefits them too. Murong shot her a hard look. Strategist Zhao. If the chance comes, we must run. That man will cut off limbs or kill over the smallest offense. We could end up like the others. Zhao's expression darkened. Escape? Do you really think it's possible? Murong refused to back down. We can't surrender. Even if the sky falls, there's always a gap to break through. When the opening appears, we move. Suddenly, Baek Ji approached. Young Master Murong. Murong startled. What is it? Baek Ji spoke evenly. The cult leader calls for you. Murong stiffened, insisting nervously that he'd behaved. Zhao only exhaled quietly, cursing his foolish escape plans. Baek Ji led him back to the cult leader. Yo Wu regarded Murong with an icy gaze. I heard the Murong clan resides in Liaoning province. You must know its terrain well. Murong swallowed hard and nodded. Yes, that's correct. His thoughts spiraled fast. Why was Yo Wu suddenly asking about maps? Don't tell me he's setting his sights on the Murong clan ruling Liaoning. Yo Wu's gaze grew colder. Once we reach Liaoning, you'll lead us straight to Chai Mountain. The scene shifts to the 10,000-peak stronghold of the Heavenly Demon Cult. Inside the Supreme Elder's training chamber, Chab approached Kaian Yu Zhang to report. Yu Zhang's eyes thinned sharply. So he has found my father. Seeming nodded solemnly. And more than that, the cult leader has already placed the Northern Glacier Hall under our control. Yu Zhang's expression twisted in shock. What? He stood frozen. Changing the state religion, claiming the imperial city of Qiyong, and now swallowing Northern Glacier Hall into our dominion. Seeming pressed a hand over his chest, pride in his voice. It was this humble one who recognized his worth first and took him as disciple. He chuckled softly. Truly, a fortune for the cult. Yu Zhang's lips curved faintly, his eyes distant. When, Your air has already outstripped me. Then he turned to Ming. A glorious day, isn't it, Guardian? Without warning, Yu Zhang stepped off the platform and said, since you've brought such fine news, how about sharing a drink with me? Certainly. Ming began. But before he could finish, Yu Zhang's hand sliced through the air like a blade, aiming for his throat. Ming barely twisted away, the strike carving through the wall with a deafening crack. Yu Zhang strode through the splintered gap, his aura bursting like a storm. Ming peered through the jagged hole, alarm rising. Supreme Elder, what's wrong? Yu Zhang's piercing gaze swept the area. For a heartbeat, I sensed an intruder listening in. Ming's eyes widened. Here, inside the Supreme Elder's hall. This is the most fortified chamber in the entire cult. No one could get near unnoticed, least of all from someone of your caliber, one of the 5 great masters. Yu Zhang turned slightly, his tone cooling. Perhaps it was an illusion. A stillness hung before he muttered, even weakened, to make such a blunder. He straightened calmly. Let's go back inside. Ming forced a thin smile and replied, as you wish. High atop the 10,000 peaks at Mount Gen summit, a shadowy figure coalesced, its form flickering like blue fragments. The man clutched his bleeding ribs and hissed in pain. Those eyes shouldn't have pierced through my veil. And yet, he sensed me. Blood dripped down his hand as a curse left his lips. Damn it. His gaze fixed on the horizon, dread clouding his face. That monster's perception is beyond reason. If you enjoyed the story, remember to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss the next episode.